Well, I sewed 2 squares together, but now I need to add my next square. So how do I do that? I'm going to take the 2 squares that I have and the 3rd square that I need to add. And I'm basically going to do exactly the same thing. So I've already drawn a line on this square for my 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to go ahead and line that up where it needs to go. So if this was day 1 and this was day 2, this is my fabric for day 3. Remember, I will always want to put pretty side to pretty side, and I'm going to put them right exactly on top of each other. Gone ahead and threaded my needle, and I put my loop at the end to make my little loop knot. I'm going to go ahead and just put a couple of pins in here to hold this in place so it doesn't shift around while I'm working. These fabrics are pretty grabby, they stay together pretty well, but better safe than sorry. I'm going to go ahead and take my needle, starting a little bit in from the end, just like before. Pull it through, but not all the way. Make sure you leave that loop. Pull it too fast, it's going to go all the way through. Oops! But the good news is, you haven't heard anything, you can just do it again. Make sure you leave that loop. Come up through here. Don't pull too hard so you don't lose your loop. Take your needle, put it through the loop to catch your thread, just like that. Keeps you from having the bulk of a knot. You're gonna work small stitches toward the outer edge. I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm pretty well versed in it, but if you need to turn your fabric upside down to see what you're doing, if you need to draw lines on both sides, you know, there's no quilt police, right? So again, I'm just going to take these small stitches. I'm going to take my pins out as I'm working, otherwise I find my thread gets caught on them and becomes a little tangly. So I'm just going to keep working my way across. All right, I'm close to the end, so I'm just gonna backtrack a little bit just to keep a bulky knot from being at the very edge of my fabric. Sew back in about 1/4 of an inch. Then I'm gonna come up, make myself a little knot. And I'm gonna do that just by going through one of these existing stitches. And you see I've got a loop here, this loop of thread. What I want to do is come up around the back side, through the bottom of it, and pull. And then I've got a little knot. And again, I don't want to cut off right at the knot. That might lead it to unravel, so maybe about 1/4 of an inch away, I'm just going to trim it. And I'm just going to let that little end hang out, and that's fine. Go ahead and open this up. Look at that, how nice. And then again, maybe I want to press it. Maybe this time I'm going to press this open a little bit. So I can take my finger and just open up that seam. Maybe take my fingernail, run it down a little bit, put your ruler up against it. If you've got an iron, you can press it down, but honestly, pressing it with your finger is plenty good. And there you have it. Now I've joined another square to start building my row.